Hey folks, in this video we're going to review the G100 gel coat dump gun, understand what's in the box, explain each part so you have a good understanding of what it does, and review the overall gun anatomy and construction. In a companion video, I'll review a comprehensive list of tools, spare parts, materials, and accessories I'd recommend to get you cooking with gas on a real project. But there is one item you're absolutely going to need right now to even assemble and test it, and that is a male 1/4 inch NPT air hose fitting. Now this thing comes with practically everything you need right in the box except the air hose fitting. It's kind of annoying. Now on one hand, I do understand. The manufacturer recommends against 1/4 inch quick couplers because they might restrict airflow and affect the performance of the gun. This thing has a healthy appetite for air, so they probably want to discourage that. But on the other, it's a lot like getting that batteries not included gadget at Christmas. I've never had problems with airflow, and I'm pretty sure that 1/4 inch quick couplers are widely used in applications just like this. Anyway, I wanted to bring it to your attention. You'll want to make sure that you have one on hand to at least test it, or it'll be an immediate buzzkill trip to the hardware store. All right, let's finally open up the box and dig into this thing. In the box, you're going to have a bag of parts and accessories, including the pull ring assembly, a cleaning brush, a wet mill gauge, Allen wrenches, a disposable poly bag, and the manual. Now, as far as manuals go, this one's pretty straightforward, and the parts diagram is good to have on hand, but you can get these online and I'll provide links to both. Now it also comes with these material coverage and catalyzation charts. Again, handy, but you can also get these online. And I'll be doing one better and providing a simple spreadsheet that I use to calculate materials. Plug in the surface area and boom, it'll generate your gel coat, resin, and MEKP calculations for you. It also comes with a reusable poly cup and a complimentary disposable paper cup. Now I'll talk more about this, but I highly recommend buying these in bulk. Next, you'll find a cast aluminum lid, and yours may or may not already have the fluid nozzle installed. By default, the nozzle should be the FN6, and you'll be able to identify that with the stamp right on the nozzle that says 6. Now this is the go-to 3/16 inch 4.8 millimeter nozzle, and it's perfect for gel coat. You can get nozzles in other sizes, and I have a few of those, but honestly, this is the only one you'll need. Finally, the gun body itself. Let's dive into that. So starting with the trigger here, you'll notice the first of several O-rings. This one seals the trigger against the body when you have it engaged and are spraying. Now I know a lot of you are going to be tempted to dive right in and take this apart, but for now, my suggestion is to leave the trigger assembly as is. Assuming it was tested before it left the factory and hasn't been messed with, it should be good to go. In my rebuild video, we'll dive deeper and disassemble it properly so you understand it better, avoid damaging the O-rings that are inside, and can address any issues like leaks that you might run into. Next, at the back of the gun is the flow control valve. Now this is the valve that controls airflow, not material, as there actually isn't a material control valve. Hold that thought. We'll talk more about that shortly. Now I have a mini regulator right at every gun I use, so I just leave this wide open and dial in the pressure on that regulator. We'll revisit this during the rebuild video as well. Now at the front here is the air nozzle, and that's secured in place with this lock screw at the top. Now I've never had to take this apart due to failure, and it's easy enough to clean right where it is. That said, you can unscrew that, take out the nozzle and clean it, or replace it if needed. But please, for right now, let's just leave that alone. Take my word for it. This nozzle is easy to damage. Like the trigger assembly, in the rebuild video, we'll take a deeper dive and review taking this out, maintaining it, and reinstalling it properly to avoid damage. Watch that first, or you might accidentally damage this nozzle. Now, at the bottom is the attachment point for the 1/4 inch NPT air fitting we talked about earlier. And finally, here's the attachment point for the pull ring assembly. Pull ring is what will secure the cup to the gun once we've loaded it with material and are ready to spray. Now, what you won't see on the gun is a fluid needle assembly or fluid control valve, and that's by design. There is no needle to open and close for fluid because it's dependent on gravity and the vacuum of airflow pulling rather than pushing the material out of the gun, hence the name dump gun. You also won't see a fan control. Instead, you'll notice these notches in the nozzle designed specifically to produce the optimal spray pattern for spraying into or over the master you are replicating. Remember, while it can be done, we're generally not spraying face up and therefore not reliant on a fan pattern for our finish. Instead, we're relying on the surface of the master to produce the finish of our mold. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's analogous to spraying a GFRC mist or face coat into a mold and relying on the mold to produce the finished surface. And finally, you won't see a cup typical of an HVLP that threads directly onto the gun, sits upright, and feeds material down to the gun nozzle through a chamber. Instead, this is where the cup assembly comes into play. You'll have a paper cup that sits inside the poly cup, the lid along with the nozzle that gets seated onto the paper cup, and that whole assembly gets seated into the air nozzle and secured to the gun with the pull ring. Now this is the core of what makes this tool so easy to clean up and maintain. There's minimal moving parts and really almost nowhere for your material to hide, set up, and cause problems. It's perfect for this application. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that was a helpful review of the G100 dump gun to better understand what's in the box, what each part does, and its overall construction. In the next videos, we're going to continue diving deeper, including assembly, how to handle it, basic spray technique, how to break it down and clean up efficiently, and perform a complete rebuild for maintenance. Thanks again. Keep taking those creations to the next level, and I'll see you in the next one.